What's going on, everybody? Happy Friday night. I wasn't going to bother you with a video today, but then our president held a surprise press conference, kind of caught everybody off guard, and it was pretty awesome. If you guys missed it, I want to tell you a couple of things that happened without making you go watch the whole thing, because I thought it was absolutely amazing. So I think you'll think the same. Let's dive into it without wasting any time. I'm Jared, this is RedRacer Video, former car vlogger, and I'm an independent citizen journalist. You make that possible. 3 places you can help this channel monetarily: Patreon, PayPal, and Venmo. I do not work now. Well, this is my work now. Work more than ever. You make this possible with your donations through Patreon, PayPal, and Venmo. So as you watch this, if you see value, only if you see value, consider supporting the channel down below. Also, our shirts, our unmasked shirts. Good news, bad news. The good news is they're selling like hotcakes. The bad news is you guys totally overwhelmed what I thought I was going to have for demand. And we're getting close to running out. So like I said in the last video, RedRacerVideo.com. Do not wait. There's a link in the description. Go check us out for shirts if you want one. If not, we'll have another round coming out. First part next week, I think red, black, and white. And then the end part, I think-ish of next week, we're going to have a bunch of stuff. Blue, high visibility orange, like some people have asked for, and some other stuff. So without further ado, let's dive into what I said today's video is going to be about. Like I said, it's Friday night. I want to go do some stuff. I want you guys to go do some stuff. So our president, kind of last minute, I saw something come up in one of my chats with my friends that I trust a lot, and said, hey, president's going to have a press conference. Started seeing it circulate a little bit. You guys obviously now know it was a press conference. I'm sure you've seen some clips. Came out kind of right out of the chute. He mentioned, and this is why I'm putting this together. So anybody thinks that I'm stretching, maybe. It's obviously all speculation. My channel always is. And as I always say, go do your own research. Real quick plug. In the description, there are places that I link. If anybody's out there saying, where do I go? How do I find stuff? Where do I start? Unfortunately, I can't walk you through all of this and hold your hand through all of it. There is a lot. But if you're truly interested in finding the truth, I do think that I give you the answers in the links down below. And if you watch this channel, you'll slowly get there. But our president said a lot of stuff in this thing that was really kind of indicative of everything that's going on. And so he started off by really kind of giving us a lot of repetitive information. But like I said in the beginning, he said, you know, press, I know you guys didn't know this was happening, so thank you for getting here and being able to make it on such short notice. Which to me was kind of his way of being like, oh, hey, by the way, thanks for just sliding in. The reason that I think this is important is, if a lot of you guys remember, part of what Comey brags about, how he got Flynn to quote unquote perjure himself, is that he didn't follow protocol. Normally, if they wanted to interview the National Security Advisor at the White House, they would call the White House. By they, I mean the FBI. The FBI would call the White House, put in a request, blah, 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 follow these steps, then they'd meet with him. Comey has bragged on camera that he just thought that they're a new administration. They probably won't know any better. I'm just going to send 2 guys to basically show up and see if they can talk to him. That's how they got Flynn to perjure himself. That's why he didn't have any legal representation there. For what it's worth, I think that Flynn and Donald Trump and everybody else was way ahead of him, and they knew what they were doing, and they just played along and went with it. And Flynn has been a hero and let his life get turned upside down for our country and for you and I. But getting back to it, I think that that's kind of what happened here. I think he rope-a-doped them. He did the same thing to them. He knew they'd be impulsive. He knew that yesterday he told the media and all of us, hey, you guys might not see me for a while. He didn't say that was starting tonight. He didn't say I'm leaving tonight. But he put out there that, you know, I might have to disappear for a while. Well, we all thought that was going to be starting yesterday. So did the media. So when tonight he said, I'm going to have a press conference, all these media people were probably tripping over themselves to get there. You could kind of see that too, because in a couple of the live feeds, I think like on Fox Business, a couple other places, they had what they call like a hot mic, where they had their cameras on, their microphones on in the press room well ahead of when he went live. It was like 30 minutes before. So you could see people talking. You could hear them moving TVs around. So it kind of looked like it was a little more impromptu, because I've watched a few of these things and it wasn't like your normal, and in fairness, it was in New Jersey. It wasn't the White House. You know, there's some other stuff that plays into it. But a couple of things I picked up on as he went through this. And again, a lot of the information was repetitive. A lot of this, I think, was just his opportunity to run for office again. You know, every time he gets to be on camera, it's basically our president's opportunity in a lot of cases for free to campaign for president. No other candidate really gets that opportunity. I mean, not nearly as many as our president anyway. So he was not playing games. He came out of the gate swinging. He reiterated that the Democrats are standing in the way of our stimulus. To everybody out there, it's like, man, where's my stimulus check? I'll tell you. The Democrats keep trying to make this all about them. They keep trying to bail out the Democratic states that are broke and need bailouts because of decades of poor, intentional Democratic policies. They're trying to basically force us into the Green New Deal in this new set of stimulus. They're just trying to slide in a bunch of their agenda stuff. It's not about the American people. They're not trying to help us. They're trying to help them. He points that out. He also goes on and reiterates what he's doing to the drug companies. And anybody that doesn't really know what's going on there, last night, before he said he was going to disappear for a while, he talked about how he was crushing the middleman. He was crushing Big Pharma. And he kind of went in this presser a little more into what he did. And he basically said to all these manufacturers and all these countries that deal and trade and sell the products and all this kind of stuff, he said, if you're selling a product to, like, I'm just guessing on the countries again, I don't know, Germany, for instance, I think he said, for like 20 or 30 cents a pill, you are not then going to charge America $2 a pill for that. Capiche? He just said you're going to stop screwing us. So anyone who thinks that he's like out there trying to do New World Order, blah, 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 he's only out for him, you're dumb. I know that sounds mean, but I'm sorry, you are. He's making it so that you and I can afford these prescription drugs. And a lot of us are lucky and we've never had to be on these things, but there's a bunch of people out there, and probably a lot of you watch these videos, comment in the descriptions if you do, that rely on this. And this is probably just, again, going back to the math, there are scenarios where it will literally take pills from like $2 a pill down to like probably 40, 50 cents a pill somewhere in there. The countries that have been getting pills for like dirt cheap are probably going to have to pay a little more. But the countries like the country, us, who's been getting bent over, is not going to get bent over anymore. But guess who loses? Big Pharma. And guess who loses bigger? And this is what he went on to point out. I know I went off on a total squirrel syndrome there. He went out to point out that the middlemen, and he actually said middlemen and women, which in my opinion was his way of pointing out that Nancy Pelosi, Kamala Harris, and these other female senators and representatives and people in Congress and things that are on the take, I feel like that was his way of saying, I just took your money, I just hurt you, and I know who you are. And I know it's not just the men Congress, the congressmen in here, it's the congresswomen in here. I'm almost positive that's what he was saying, but that was beautiful. So again, keeping in mind, going back real quick to last video, I'll only take 20 seconds on this. He closed the border, which killed their drug trade and their human trafficking trade. He's putting that wall up. We're up to like, what, 230, 240, 250 miles? I don't know. It's going like fast. He also is killing all of their underground tunnel systems. Whole nother video. The people haven't gone down that rabbit hole yet. He is killing Hollywood, killing all of these back deal things they have. All the money we had coming in from China and all these athletes and all these people that have been on the take from China, he's crippling all of them. And in this press conference, he was just poking fun. He was just telling them, ha, ha, ha. Oh, and by the way, now I just took your legal money, which is Big Pharma. Then he reiterated basically that these people don't like him and he's going to have to kind of sort of be hiding out here a little while. Then it was the best part of the presser. I'm almost done. This is going to be a short one. Best part of the presser. And this is where in the beginning, I don't remember if I said this in the beginning now, but I'm pretty confident he set a trap that they walked right into. And I wonder a little bit if the people who were in this crowd kind of were prepped maybe for some of this stuff that was coming. Maybe not. Maybe they just are smart. Actually, they probably aren't. They're probably just like me and they refuse to wear a mask. I haven't worn a mask anywhere yet. I will not wear a mask. Only when they took me to the hospital in the ambulance and they put it on for me. And I think when I've gone to like 2 doctor appointments. But I'm still that guy that goes everywhere without one. But there was a lot of those people in this crowd in New Jersey because they were not having what happened next. The best part of the presser, a reporter comes up. Or not comes up. He gets his chance. And what he says... he says, Mr. President, thank you. And they always start off respectful, right? Thank you, Mr. President. And then they go off and be a dick. Thank you, Mr. President. You have said that the pandemic is disappearing. And then he goes out to point out that 6,000 Americans died this week. Then he makes the colossal mistake of pointing out that in that room, there were what he called dozens of people that were not following the guidelines of New Jersey. Our president, and man, do I love our president. I am so proud to have him as our president. I did not like him on The Apprentice or anywhere else for that matter. I've never really looked up to the dude. I didn't know him that well. I probably just was hating on him because he was a billionaire and all that stuff, but never really liked him until I started digging and learning and using my brain and using logic and getting rid of all of my emotion and figured out that, man, wow, he actually is doing a lot of good stuff for us. But I was so proud of him in this moment. This bonehead, after he says that all these people in this room are not following guidelines, the president cuts him off. And as the president's cutting him off, not the whole room, but a lot of people in this room start booing this reporter that's calling them out for not using their masks. And as they're booing him, the president stops him and calls him out and says, hold on, let me get to my notes here. And it gets so much worse for him after he says that. The president says, you're wrong on that because it's a political activity. There are exceptions. And just like Kayleigh McEnany, he's got this stuff like queued up in a notebook and he starts reading the law off to this guy. And this is why, again, I could be speculating, but it felt like a setup to me. He reads out the law to this reporter, though, and says to him, he says, you're wrong because this is a political activity and they have exceptions for that. And actually, this is also a peaceful protest. And when he said that, I think everyone on the internet and almost everyone in this room started cheering and just really going for the president, clapping, whistling, you heard it all. He said what every single American or okay, well, I'm not going to go down that path. He said what a lot of us were thinking in that moment. He then goes on to read out the law verbatim to him again, the way it was worded about peaceful protesting and political activities. And then he points out that the fake news is basically horse crap. And he points out the line of questioning. And he points out the fact that the guy left out Iran in his line of questioning. And really quickly, I want to point out, why did the president point out that this guy left out Iran? What he was doing is he was quoting a report that said that Russia, China, and Iran were basically against us. And I can't remember the exact scenario, so I don't want to miss it. But he left out the Iran part. He only brings up Russia and China because that's where they're kind of focusing everything now, right? Russia because they want us diverted on Russia. China because that's where everything's really happening. And they've got to kind of sort of acknowledge that now because you really can't ignore the fact that the China virus is here. Have you guys noticed also, really quick, he calls it the China virus like 15 times in each presser now. Do you hear anyone in the media giving him crap about calling it the China virus anymore? You don't, do you? Why do you think that is? Because they know it's from China, maybe? I think so. Last thing, he finishes off the press conference by saying, if our press were honest, our country would be so much further ahead. And then our president walks off the stage. 2 cheers, and again, claps, whistles, the whole deal. Everybody is really, really cheering him on. That is my president. I want to point out that in his line of questioning, that reporter called it a pandemic. They keep calling it a pandemic now because they have to keep calling it that. Because if they don't keep creating that with their words, there will be nothing else left to give it a pandemic status. It has not lived up to the pandemic criteria. The only reason that it even kind of sort of is still a pandemic in some people's minds is because they have lied, cheated, and murdered their way to a death count that makes some people believe in the false flag flu. In closing, I want to say this. Do not lose track of all of the big things that are ahead, all of the stuff that's coming, all of the people that should be on trial and are going to be on trial and are dodging trial right now. The things that they're trying to hold up, They're trying to keep Flynn from walking. The dude should already be free, but they're doing everything they can to cloud the media, the news cycle, everything with all these other things. 6 places bombed, slashed, attacked, slashed, explosions, slashed, on fire. And now I think there's more because there's like an Amazon factory or warehouse burning. Again, they're either burning their evidence, covering their steps, or diverting attention. There's no way there is coincidences though. We were told August would be a hot month. Inky dink. There's fires, explosions, everything everywhere. Do not lose track of all the big stuff ahead. They are trying to get us looking everywhere but down the middle. Focus. Stick in with RedRacer video. Like, subscribe before you go. Make sure you're still subscribed. I will do my best to keep you guys on the straight and narrow. I'm doing everything I can and quite literally sacrificing so much sleep to keep you guys up to speed with good, accurate information. I want all of us together and awake, critically thinking, free thinking. Don't just take my word for anything. Always do your own research. They've been after our president since he announced that he was going to run, and this is all a distraction. Do not let it work. I love you all. RedRacerVideo.com. If you want to donate and support the channel one more time, Patreon, PayPal, Venmo, links for everything in the description, including sources where you can get good information. I'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you.